please. Guys, online student, please respond. Online student, please respond. Are you there, guys? How many attendings are there, guys? Are you back, guys? Okay, good. Okay, so let's get into our subject. Yesterday I was talking about what, boss? Netflix Eureka server. Every microservice should be registered there. Yeah. Let's start creating the project now. Okay. Eureka server is not a software to install. It's all about creating Spring Boot project, adding one starter. So when you run the Spring Boot project as an embedded server, it will run, right or not? As an embedded server, it will run. It will run or not run? Definitely it will run as an embedded server, guys. Okay, most of the servers that are going to come in microservices are not separately installable one. They are basically, okay, Spring Boot project. They created because of starters that are added to Spring Boot project. Keep this in mind a lot. File open. Netflix Eureka R&D server, guys. Now Eclipse will do hover action. Create Spring Boot project adding Eureka server dependency. Eureka server, right? And how does it knows? It has to look for this project as Eureka server by keeping @enable Eureka server on the top of the main class. Okay, guys. But most important thing is entries in application.property file. You can give any port number for Eureka server. Recommended is 8761. Just a recommended one. Most of the people in the industry prefers and recommended one also. Okay, these two things are there now, boss. Very, very interesting property. Register with Eureka false. Fetch registry is false. Why, sir? This is very important. Concentrate. We are already in Eureka server project. Are we going to register Eureka server project with Eureka server? Are you understanding my statement, guys? Come on. Okay. Madhu, API gateway is different. Eureka server is different. Please. Okay. Moreover, front controller within the project. API gateway is for multiple projects. Dispatcher servlet is front controller within the project. API gateway is a project for other projects. As a project front controller is API gateway. As a servlet front controller is dispatcher servlet. In every MS, dispatch servlet is front controller. For all MS together, API gateway project itself acts as a front controller. Okay, that's not an issue, guys. Now listen carefully. This is very crucial. Yeah, this may launch it. Eureka.client.register with Eureka. Eureka.client.fetch registry. Array, these two projects are there. These two properties are there in the parent project, boss. You know that whenever we create Spring Boot project, it will inherit property from parent project. Did you notice in pom.xml, when parent tag comes, that means every Spring Boot project is a Maven project inheriting property from what? Specified parent project or not? Inheriting the properties from what, guys? Specified parent property or not? I want reply, boss. Inheriting the properties from specified parent project. What do you say, guys? Listen, guys. These two properties are having true value in the parent project, which are very much suitable for microservice projects. Why? Every microservice should be registered with Eureka server, true. And every microservice should be fetched out from Eureka server. Their default value is true. When MS projects are created as sub-projects of parent project, inherited properties can be used as it is. Come on, guys. But Eureka server project is also inheriting from parent project. Is there any sense of Eureka server project registering with Eureka? Eureka server project fetching from Eureka? That's why, though they are inherited from parent project to Eureka server project, I need to overwrite default value true to false or not. It's something like this, boss. You are distributing sweets to the owner of the sweet shop. You feel very bad or not? You purchased sweets from his shop and giving gift to him only. You feel really, really bad for that or not, guys? I want reply, my dear. Is it a meaningful operation? No. Is it really meaningful operation? Definitely it's not a meaningful operation. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on, I want reply, boss. Register with Eureka, true. Default value is true. But when you are in Eureka server project, registering for Eureka is required or not required? That's why I'm overriding default value to false for fetching and for both registering. Now I have a question. Why they have given true value for in the MS parent project? They can give false only, na? Tell me, in microservice architecture projects, there will be one Eureka server and there will be 100 to 200 microservices. And the default value true is good for all microservice projects. That's why in parent project they maintain true. Because in multiple MS projects, true is required. If they come as it is, as true, it will be good or not, guys. How many Eureka server projects will be there? One. Okay, one place they will override. Remaining all microservice project, they will inherit and use a default value, which are very much required or not. Yeah, let me create, guys. New. These hardware and networking people are very intelligent here. When I ask increase the speed of the net, they are saying, oh, change the OS, sir. When I show angry on him, then he changed the rotor and now speed is good. They think that we are innocent, right? Mhm. Because when I started my career in the initial days, guys, I know one networking guy. You say keyboard not working, we'll format, sir. Mouse not working, let's format, sir. No, this guy also, yeah, why net is not good means change the OS, sir. Then I said, I use this laptop for my personal work, office work, and I also conduct some online classes at home. Everywhere I am not getting problem. Why here only getting problem? When I show the angry face, then he's changed the rotor. Okay, let it be. These people, at least they should realize with whom they are talking, right? Spring starter project, guys. Come on. Again, network problem. Yeah, project is already there. Huh? No problem, guys. Shall we change the name of the project, guys? Yeah. Tell me here. Boot MS. Nothing is there. I just started creating Eureka project and we'll see the explanation in this. Boot MS Pros 01. Boot MS Pros 01. What is there? Netflix. Netflix company has given. Netflix, you know, as a OTT, but it's a big software company also. Eureka server. You can take a jar, boss. Why? Because I'm not going. It's not a web application. It's what? This one. Say next. That's good. Yeah. No, no, no. You need not to add web starter. Web starter means REST application, right? Okay. What is there? Eureka server. What is there? Eureka server. Here is my what? Eureka server. Say next. Say finish. Here is my Eureka server, guys. Boot to MS before MVC. Yeah. You are ready with Eureka server now? Starters are added. Only one starter, boss. What should I do on the top of the class? @ enable Eureka server. @ enable Eureka server. That is done. Go to properties file, guys. Okay. Server port, but this is Eureka server port. Listen, server.port is not fixed for Tomcat. When you configure normal web application starter, it works for Tomcat. Okay. When you make Spring Boot project as config server port number. When you make Spring Boot project as Eureka server port number. Tomorrow, if you make Spring Boot project as what? Admin server port number, right, guys? Okay, what is that? Eureka server port. Server.port, guys. Okay, yeah, recommend 8761 is the recommended one. Override, what is this? Override default values of inherited properties from parent project. Inherited properties from of the parent project. Override default values of the, come on guys, what is this? Inherited properties of the parent project. What project, guys? Parent project. Tell me, guys, Eureka dot, what dot? Eureka dot client dot. Okay, guys, register with Eureka. Eureka dot client dot register with Eureka, guys. What is that? False. Eureka dot client dot fetch registry, false. Eureka dot client dot register with Eureka. Eureka dot client dot fetch registry, false. Tell me what's happening here. Tell me what's happening here. We are saying that this is Eureka server project. It need not to be registered with Eureka. It's a Eureka server project, need not to fetch from Eureka. It itself Eureka, right? Okay. Owner of the company need not to register his employment because he is the owner of the company, right, guys? Owner of the company need not to take salary from the company because he is the owner of the company. But why it is given as a true default? In a microservice architecture, one MS will be there or lots of MS will be there. Lots of MS should be registered. Lots of MS should be made fetchable from Eureka server. So the default value true good for multiple microservices. That's why parent project by default maintaining true, guys. In microservice architecture project, how many Eureka servers will be there? Only one. There also default value true will be inherited. But is it going to work out in Eureka server project? No. That's why what we should do? False we have to override. Are you getting my point, guys? Interesting or not? Super. You want to feel that? Everything is inherited. See, it is inheriting from parent project now, boss. Spring iPhone, boot iPhone, starter iPhone, parent. Yes or no? Na? Okay, 1 minute. Spring iPhone, boot iPhone, starter iPhone, parent dependence. Here is my pom.xml is there, na boss? Here view all is there. Files, view all. Here what is there? Pom.xml is there. This is parent pom.xml. Alright, listen, this parent is having one more parent. Is it not interesting, Rababu? Come on. That parent is having what? One more parent. Okay, that is pom.xml. But we are not looking for pom.xml. We are looking for what? Properties file content, right, guys? Properties file. How to get the property file from event repository? Okay, how to get a properties file from event repository? 3.3.3. Is there any jar to download, guys? Not there. Spring Boot is there. Central is there. View all is there. I just want to see in any option is there. Okay. I just want to show that property, guys. Let me wait. Let me show that. What's the property, guys? Eureka dot. What dot, guys? Eureka dot client dot register something is there. Register with something is there. We'll just keep Eureka dot client. It is not allowing to get a fine. Okay, download the jar and open the jar. Download the jar, open the jar. There will be properties file. There you can see it. But okay, I'm just trying to show that, guys, nothing else. Okay, let us assume that is there. Yeah, and you don't believe, with this your Eureka server is ready. Very easy, boss. Okay, can I run it now? Right click, run as Java application, guys. Okay. Open the browser. Open the browser. 8761. Eureka server homepage is ready now, boss. In this homepage, are there any instances here? Are there any instances here? I want reply, boss. Are there any instances here? I want reply. Okay. Do you have any instances here, guys? Definitely not there. Why? Instances are currently registered with Eureka. Zero na, boss. Localhost, nothing is there. And some information about Eureka server is there, guys. Total available memory 88 MB. Number of CPUs 12. Current usage 51 MB is used. Server uptime this much. This is Eureka server related information. IP address is, status is up, available replicas, and number of things are there. Easy to create Eureka server. Now come back to the document. The server property in web application, REST application, microservice application become the embedded server port number, right? Server.property in Eureka server project becomes what? Eureka server port number. The server property in admin server project becomes what? Admin server port number. Admin server port number. Clear, guys? Come on. Spring Cloud project. Spring Cloud project. What is the original name of that? Spring Boot starter parent, right, guys? Spring Boot starter parent. This is simply what, guys? Spring Boot starter parent. Here what is there, guys? Register with Eureka, true. Fetch registry, true. Both places true is there na, boss? Come on. In both places true and true is there or not there? Definitely there, right? Register with Eureka, true. Fetch registry, true. MS. And first one is not MS project. First one is also MS, guys. First one MS, second one MS, third one MS. Fourth one is what? Eureka server. In Eureka server, compulsory you should place false, na? Here I have not kept because those values are inherited and used as it is. Here these values are inherited and used as it is. And here writing this one is meaningless. Why? If you don't write also, those values are inherited with the true only, right, guys? That's why we need not write like this, because they will come from Spring Cloud parent project directly. Here I am not writing, they are still doing it. I am not writing, they are still doing it. Yeah. Every MS project should be kept ready to register with Eureka server. Since we cannot register Eureka server project itself with what? Eureka server. So we need to make default value true. Inherited from Spring Cloud project. For what? Eureka.client.register with Eureka property as false. In Eureka server project, guys. What project, guys? In Eureka server project. Eureka.client.register with Eureka. What is that, guys? False. Every MS project should be kept ready for discovery or fetching, for communicating while registering with what? Eureka server. Since Eureka server project itself cannot be kept ready for fetching or discovery, so we need to make default value true inherited from the Spring Cloud project for Eureka.client.fetch registry as fall in the Eureka server project. What project, guys? Simply in the Eureka server project. Eureka.client.fetch registry false. Eureka.client.fetch registry false. Nothing. Eureka server project itself cannot be registered with Eureka server. Eureka server project itself cannot be fetched from Eureka server, right, guys? That's why we need to make them as what? False in Eureka server. Run the application, test the thing. The recommended port number for Eureka server is 8761. Okay, if it is not running on 8761, in multiple places you have to mention the port number. If it is 8761, it's good. If we add a Spring Web starter to the project, then we get as embedded server. If we add Eureka server starter to the project, then we get Eureka server as embedded server. Eureka server as embedded server. Are you understanding my statement, guys? This MS is registered, this MS is registered, this MS is registered. So that for first MS, second and third MS becomes discoverable. For second MS, first and third MS becomes discoverable. For third MS, first and second becomes discoverable. Come on, guys. Got the point, my dear? I want reply, guys. Tomcat is web server or application server, where we deploy and manage web application. Eureka server is what? R&D server, where microservice will be registered and discovered. Eureka server internally uses Kafka platform to behave like a server, but it is a different server for different purpose. Only platform is same, but it's a different server for different purpose, guys. Can we run Spring Boot application without application.properties or YML file? Possible only in basic application. Only basic application. In all advanced modular application, we need to support what? Application.yml or this. How to check? In Windows, how can you find out busy port number? Any command prompt, you say network statistics -a. The busy port number services will be listed out, guys. The busy port number services will be listed out, right, guys? Super. Why 8761 is the recommended port number for what? Netflix Eureka server. If the port number Eureka server is 8761, we need not to specify port number in microservices registration URL in order to register them with what? R&D server. Are you getting my point there, guys? Come on. Okay. Chandana is asking, why should I register microservices with Eureka server when I do communication? When I can do communication by using what? A REST template. Good question. Okay. Microservice communication does not need REST template, but still communication should happen. For that purpose, first of all, they should be available. They should be placed in a discoverable place. That is Eureka server. In microservice communication, we are not going to use REST template. Lot of communication will happen automatically and internally. In that process, whatever internal things are happening, they need to search for destination microservice in common place, and that common place is what? Eureka server. That common place is what, guys? Eureka server. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Okay. See, I am not going to use REST template, but communication happens with a dynamically generated code. But this dynamically and internally generated code, try to search for microservices in certain place or not. That means all microservices should be registered in common place or not. And that common place is nothing but what, guys? Eureka server. Clear, my dear? Class content. Here is my Spring boss. Here is my Spring. What is there? I think. Now let me develop one microservice and let me register with what? Eureka, sir. Let me develop one microservice and let me register with Eureka, sir. I already said every microservice is what, guys? Every microservice is one RESTful web service or not, guys? 901 Cloud MS. Where is next one, guys? This one. Yeah, what is next topic? Publishing. Publishing means registering. Publishing is nothing but registering. Every MS must be published or registered with Eureka server by becoming Eureka client. We need to develop microservice as Spring REST controller, adding the support of what? Enable Eureka client annotation up to 2.x. In 3.x, what is that? Discovery client. No enable. No @enable Eureka client. There is no @enable Eureka client. What is the version, guys? Okay. In 3.x, they have removed that annotation. They have given this annotation. Yeah. Listen, guys. This is Eureka server project. First MS is registered. Second MS is registered. Third MS is registered. First MS is one REST controller having @Eureka client. Nowadays discovery client, right, boss? Second MS is also REST controller having @enable discovery client. Third MS is also what, guys? Third MS is also what, guys? REST controller enabled with enabled discovery client or not, guys? The regular REST controller that is taken as enable Eureka client and registered with what? Eureka server is called RESTful microservice. Basically microservice. Microservice is extension of RESTful service. Spring Cloud or Spring Boot Cloud is a module in Spring or Spring Boot framework that gives set of tools, libraries to develop what? Microservice architecture project. What project, guys? The REST controller project with @enable Eureka client is called microservice in microservice that is ready to publish in what? Eureka R&D server. Eureka R&D. Microservice is equal to REST controller class enabled with what? @Eureka client or discovery client. Enabled with what? @Eureka client or what? Right. Easy, boss? Okay, guys. Shall I develop one microservice now? REST service, and let me register with what? Eureka server. Already Eureka server is ready now. File new Spring starter project. Tell me what? Boot MS pros 2. Okay, one only I'll take because I'm going to register using same Eureka server, right? Tell me. Employee MS. Employee MS. That's a simple one only. Jar, everything is nicely there, guys. Say next. Where or jar, you can take anything, boss. Only jar means if you take where, you can run in both modes. If you take jar, only one mode. Say next. Okay, tell me, guys, web module you should add. Spring web module we should add now, boss. Come on. Next, discovery client we should add. Eureka discovery client you should add now, boss. Say next. Say finish. Yeah. Here we are ready with employee MS. Yes, boss. First, go to main class, guys. To tell that it is a microservice, tell me. At the rate enable. What client, guys? Discovery client. At the rate enable discovery client. Tell me here. MS port number. What port number? Server dot port. Okay. 9091. Array, this becomes MS port number, guys. Okay, na? Right. Okay, now tell me. Do I need to write those two properties here again? Register with Eureka, fetch from Eureka. If you don't write also, default values will continue now, boss. Specify URL to register with what, guys? Eureka server. What server, guys? Specify URL to register with what server? Eureka server. Simply and literally with what server? Eureka server. Tell me here, what should I do for that? Yeah. Here, there is a property. Arrays, these properties, if you feel reference, always keep, guys. Keep always reference. Eureka dot client dot service URL dot default zone. What is that? Eureka dot client dot service URL dot default zone. Eureka dot client dot service URL dot what is there? Default zone. HTTP colon localhost colon 87617. Eureka is this is the part of the URL, guys. That's a part of the URL. So that means connect to this URL and try to register this microservice. And this microservice is identified with this name, guys. Okay. So I don't say pros one, this one. I will simply say employee MS. That is become service ID, boss. And there are no multiple instances now, boss. Come on. Since there are no multiple instances, same thing also becomes instance ID. Same thing also becomes what? Instance. Easy, guys. Anything great here? Do you think registering microservice with Eureka server is a difficult process? Very easy process, guys. Right click now. Java application. Yeah. In the Eureka server, what happened, guys? One microservice has come now, boss. One registered microservice has come now, boss. Click on it. Don't be panic with error, wrong URL, extra URL has come. Okay, in this place, oh, did I develop the REST controller? No, I'm excited. 1 minute. So first of all, I need to develop the microservice now, boss. Nothing but REST service, right? New package. What's the package? com.nt.ms. com.nt.what? ms, guys. Right click. Tell me, boss. New class. Right click new class. Tell me. Right click new class. What should I do for that? Employee operations controller. What controller, guys? Employee operations controller. If you want, you can make it REST also, not a problem. Okay, I have to make this one as what, guys? REST controller. Global path I should give na? Good to give global path. Tell me. Employee hyphen API. Employee hyphen API. Employee hyphen API. Tell me next one. Public response entity. Public response entity. I want reply, my dear. Public response entity. Public response entity. Public response entity is string. Okay. Show employee report. Show what, guys? Employee report. After that, what next? At the rate get mapping slash report. Okay, here is my return new response entity. Return new response entity. Tell me what there? Return new response entity. Return new response entity. Okay. Tell me here what I will write. Employees report. Tell me, guys. Employees report HTTP status dot OK. Employees report HTTP status dot OK. At the rate get mapping slash report. Here is my what, guys? Employee API, guys. Come on. Super. Slash report. Come on. Here is my employees report. HTTP status dot OK. HTTP status dot OK, guys. Are you comfortable, guys? I want reply. Yeah, we are ready with this. Get mapping slash report is there. Already it is running, it seems. Yeah, second one is running, guys, already. Right click, run as what, guys? Java application. Come to this. Say refresh. You got this one. Okay, 9091. Here, what is the one? Employee hyphen API slash report. Employee report has come now, boss. That means I am able to register my microservice with Eureka server. That means this is visible for other microservices, right, guys? Fetchable for other microservices. Anything great up to this, guys? Only registering with Eureka server is extra. Otherwise, same as RESTful web service or not, guys? Everything is same as RESTful web service or not? Refresh, you should get item like this. Come on. If you register only one instance of MS with Eureka server, the service ID and name will be same as what? Instance ID. If you are planning to register multiple instances of the MS with Eureka server, then we need to place special entries in what? application.properties file. Application.properties file. MS project to generate the instance IDs randomly. To generate the instance IDs randomly. Are you getting my point there or not? Come on. If you are planning to register multiple instances of the MS with Eureka server, then we need to place what, guys? Special entries in the application.property file MS project to generate the instance IDs randomly. To generate the instance IDs randomly. Are you getting my point there, guys? So with this, our part 1 is completed now, boss. We are able to register our microservice with what, guys? Our microservice with what, guys? I want reply. Eureka server. Okay, now let me launch a fresh discussion. What is a fresh discussion? Intercommunication between microservices. What, guys? Intercommunication between microservices. To see communication between two microservices, both microservices must be published in what? Eureka. Array, first one, second one. Both should be published to Eureka server or not, guys? The MS that provides services is called what? Provider or server or producer or parent service. Provider or server or producer or what? Parent service. Are you getting my point, boss? The MS that consumes the services is called what? Consumer or client or cart service, payment service. Okay. Cart service, shopping cart, guys. We add items, na? After adding items, we'll go for payment service for payment, na, boss? Employee department. Employee try to get some services from department, guys. Cart service, billing service. After adding items to shopping cart, we try to go for billing, na, boss? Okay. Generally, consumer and producer application will be represented as shown below. Parent and child. Tell me. Payment service, cart service. Okay, at cart service side, we are writing the diamond box here or not? Payment service, cart service. At cart service here, we are writing diamond box. What do you say, guys? Doctor, patient. Patient side, we are writing diamond box or not? I want reply, boss. Convinced, boss? Convinced or not? I want reply. Come on, everyone. Payment service, cart service. Doctor, patient. One side doctor, one side patient. One side payment service, one side cart service. Clear, my dear? Understanding my statement, boss? Come on, everyone. Fine. Okay, now focus. Microservice style intra-communication. See, provider MS is registered with Eureka server. Consumer MS is registered with Eureka server. Come on, my dear. A registered. B registered. Publish means register. C. In consumer application, we take a special component called client component. What component? This client component contacts the Eureka server, searches for MS2. We are already in MS1, Bob. It searches for MS2, get instance of it. On that instance, it internally uses what? A REST template. What, guys? In one angle, REST template can be used. In remaining angle, we don't use REST template manually. That will be used internally. Okay, na, boss? We got the provider MS details, na? Provider MS details from Eureka server. By what? Client component using find method. Right, guys? So now all the details can be given to REST template. Now happily REST template can communicate with what? Provider MS or not, guys? Okay. But what's the beauty, you know? What's the beauty of this model? In a given time, MS1 can become consumer, MS2 can become producer. If needed, MS2 can become consumer, MS1 can become what? Produce. Because both are available and fetchable from what? Eureka server. Both are resisted and fetched from what? Clear, guys? Got the point, my dear? I want reply, boss. I hope you are understanding my statement, guys. Come on, I want reply. Provider MS is resisted. Consumer MS is resisted. Consumer MS performed find operation. Consumer MS performed what? Find operation. Got the got it or not, guys? Got the details of provider MS, right, guys? And those details are given to whom? REST template. And REST template is happily doing communication or not? A, publish. B, consumer MS publish. C, client component of consumer MS calls the find method, gets the provider MS details. All the details are given to whom, guys? REST template, right? REST template will generate the request. Provider MS will process the request, gets the result, and given result goes to what? Consumer. Given result goes to what? Consumer. Here both consumer and provider services will be published to Eureka server before starting the interaction. Before starting the interaction. Here any MS can become provider MS or what? Consumer MS. In the given situation, the MS can become both provider and what? Consumer. This flexibility is there now, boss. Because both are registered, that's why both are discoverable, both are fetchable. So that's why in any moment, MS1 can become provider to consumer and MS2 can become provider to consumer. This advantage is there. Look at the SOA, guys. Service oriented architecture. Fixed provider and fixed consumer. This only publish, this only find. Today, can I reverse it? Here we need to have fixed provider and fixed consumer service. Here only one-way communication is possible. That is consumer to provider. But here not like that, na boss. Here not like that, na. If someone questions you, sir, what's the difference between SOA and microservice architecture? SOA also registering, microservice architecture also registering. At least now you got some points to tell to them. In SOA architecture, fixed provider, fixed consumer. Okay. In microservice architecture, all microservices will be registered with what? Eureka server. In any given moment, any MS can become consumer or provider. In any given moment, any consumer, anyone can become what? Consumer or provider. Understood, guys? Yeah. In the intra-communication of microservices through Eureka server, the consumer or client or child MS should find and get the details of provider or producer or server MS by submitting its what? Service ID. For this, the consumer MS must use one special component. What is that? Client component or client type component. Client component or client type component. I hope you understood, guys. The work of client component in consumer MS is what, guys? The work of client component in consumer MS is the work of client component in consumer MS is getting producer MS service instance from Eureka server by submitting its what? Service ID. Array, client component role I am talking, boss. I introduce client component. First, what it will do? It will contact what? Eureka server by submitting instance ID, and it will get instance object. From there, we get the details. Later, we pass those details to whom? REST template to complete the communication. Yeah, see. The work of client component in consumer MS is getting producer MS service instance from Eureka server by submitting its what? Service ID. Gather producer MS details, nothing but endpoint details, URL, method type, path, and etc. from what? Service instance. Passing the above details to REST template of consumer MS to make REST template to send HTTP request to provider MS and to receive HTTP response from what? Provider MS. To receive HTTP MS for provider MS, guys. As of now, in Eureka server environment, three types of client components or client type components are possible. We can develop those client component in three ways, guys. Discovery client, very basic client, guys. Load balancer client, somewhat advanced client. Finny client, abstract client. Finny client means we just write some declaration, lot of code will be generated automatically. In remaining two things, we should write some code manually. Okay. Discovery client component does not support load balancing. Suppose 4 or 5 instances of same MS is there. Okay. It won't dynamically pick up the lesser load factor instance. Whatever instance we ask it to pick up, forever it will pick up same. But it won't use its own common sense to pick up what? Less load factor instance. That's the problem with what? Discovery client. Load balancer client, guys. Here load balance will happen, guys. First 10 requests are given. 4 instances are there, right, guys? 4. Every instance has got 2 requests. Okay, and again round robin fashion. First instance gets another 2 requests. Second instance gets another 2 requests. Like this, they will get lots of requests or not, guys. Come on, I want reply, boss. Load balancer client component. Good, guys. Fin client component, that is what? Abstract client. Supports what? Load balance. It simply and literally supports what, guys? Okay, guys, listen. In consumer MS, we need a client component. Okay, to communicate with Eureka server and to get what? Provider MS details. To get provider MS detail. Total, how many types of client components are there? 2. Discovery client. What is next one? Load balancer client. Last one what? Fin client. Last one is what, guys? Fin. Fin client is the best. Why it is best? Because it's abstract client. We just do method declaration, reminding every logic it will internally generate. So that's why fin client is the best one, na boss. Yeah, look at the diagram. A. Consumer MS is looking for MS2. That is A. B. Eureka server is giving MS2 details to client. That is B. Client component is passing service instance details like path number, all this stuff to what, guys? REST template. To what, guys? REST template. REST template uses them and generates the request. In that one, provider MS executes. Provider MS generated output will come back to whom? REST template. And REST template passes that information to whom, guys? Consumer application. Passes that information to whom, guys? Consumer application, right, guys? For modularity purpose, we try to develop client component outside the consumer MS and as separate class, and we link with the consumer MS. We link with the consumer MS, right, guys? In consumer MS project, separate class will be taken for client component. Application name given in MS project becomes what? Okay. If you run the MS for multiple time, then we get what? Multiple instance, guys. Multiple instance IDs. Are running a microservice for multiple times is nothing but taking the multiple copies of it and running it. The application or service is having only one instance, then the service ID itself becomes what? Instance ID. The service ID itself becomes what, guys? Instance ID. Next one. How do you create multiple instances for one MS? How do you create multiple instances for one MS? Add service ID plus random value as what? Instance ID in application dot property file, and run the same project for multiple times with a different port number. At time to time you change the port number, guys. Or you try to take yeah, check it out. This is service ID. This is port number. This is instance ID. What is that? Application name colon random value. Application name colon what value, guys? One random number plus application name together we are getting as what? Instance. We are getting them as what? Instance. Instance ID. And we are asking to register with Eureka server or not, guys? Yeah, when you run multiple times, you will get multiple instances like this or not, guys. So can I show how to create a multiple instances practically? Okay, already one in Eureka server, one is there now, boss. Eureka server, how many instances are there? Only one instance. What I do is, I go to application.property file. Come on. I'll take one more thing, 9092. But I would like to give instance ID, boss. What ID? Okay, let's stop everything. I would like to give instance ID every time. Eureka.instance.instance ID. This becomes service ID. You know that, right? Instance ID, guys. Eureka dot yeah, here what I'm doing. Dollar floor bracket. Application dot name. Some random number I want to make, guys. Colon dollar random dot value. Random dot value, guys. One random number I'm taking as what? Instance. Okay. First I will run with what? 9091 only. Because I stopped everything now, boss. That's why. Before that, we should run Eureka server, boss. Oh, first we have to run what? Here we are having Eureka server, guys. Come on. MS, right click, run as Java. Employee MS is already there, guys. Huh? First instance is running. Okay. Now, second instance 9092. 9092. Tell me. Run as Java application. This is running with what port number? 9092. Okay. Okay. Number 3, guys. Save it. Java application. Total how many instances I have taken, guys? Okay. Now look at the Eureka server. Total how many instances are coming here? 3. This is the randomly generated number. This is the randomly generated number. This is the randomly generated. Okay. Employee MS. Okay. Employee API slash report. It's coming now, boss. Okay. Now I can run using any instance, guys. Employee API. What is another one? 9091. Employee report. Next. Nine zero. It's coming or not? Yeah, no, right now node balancing is not happening. We have not taken that. Okay, super. So like this, we can create multiple instances for every MS project. It's all about changing port number, running it, changing port number and running it. Right, guys? Yeah, thank you, guys. You can make a move. I'll upload the notes. What's your batch code, guys? This one only. Java real-time project now. Within 1 week, it will come, guys. Yeah, what's your batch code, guys? How many sessions? Till first week sessions will continue. Till first week sessions will continue, guys. Thank you. Have a nice time. We'll meet tomorrow.